Hey everyone, so it's time for a Q&A video. In fact, it's well past time because it's been a really long time since I've done one. And I apologize for that. It's just such a busy season, which is not really an excuse, but it's what I'm using as an excuse. And I also want to apologize because as I go through and try to collect questions for these, I realize how many comments I've been missing in the comment sections of videos. I try to be present there and answer things as I can, or at least give a little heart to know that, so that you know that I liked your comment or that I saw it. So I apologize for not doing more of that. It's been a little hectic, and that's kind of where I want to start this video. You'll notice this is not a Erin Gardens and does a Q&A video, and that's because I am pooped. And I think a lot of you are too. In fact, one of the videos that we're going to go over is a video where I talk about sort of how I'm overwhelmed in the garden. And I mean, that day was great. I'm still feeling very overwhelmed in the garden. And based on the comments in that video, I would say many of you are too. I think it's super natural to just feel like there's just too much going on. And there's a lot of pressure in our personal lives at this time of year too, because you know, if you've got kids, they're off of school and you want to do things with them, and you know, you thought, I'm going to have this garden all done before the kids are back at school, or you've got summer vacations you want to go on, or you just have a feeling of it's summer, we need to make the most of it, and here I am working really, really hard in my garden. So I feel you, totally. In fact, I have to say, now do not hold me to this, because I probably would say this every year and I never say it publicly, but I mean, barring any sort of unforeseen garden-related tragedy on this property, because many of the new gardens I make have come out of a tree falling down. In a lot of cases, it's a tree falling down, or a big project, like when we had to do the septic, we had to redo the septic thing. And a lot of times I don't intend on making a new garden area. It's just that such a great opportunity presents itself. I hope that doesn't happen for many reasons, but also because I feel like, although there's a lot still to work through here, I'm getting a handle on a lot of garden areas, and I'm maybe 1 or 2 seasons away from having even like the perennial gardens by the road be what I would consider to be considerably lower maintenance than they are now. And I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm trying to, like I said, I don't want to say this publicly because I feel like that's just asking karma to come drop a tree on my house or something. But I'm hoping not to take on any new garden projects next year. I mean, obviously this year we did the big privacy screen with the neighbors. Oh, and I'll have to turn the camera around and show you what that looks like in 1 second because the view has changed. So I'll have to, in any case, I don't want to work this hard in my garden again. It's really kicking my butt this year. And maybe this is because it's age, which doesn't help. Maybe it's because we've had still no rain, so part of the gardening is just watering everything all the time. I don't know, but anyway, I am looking next year to not be in a position that on July 4th weekend I'm still like not to the point where I can just get to the routine maintenance part of the garden, which is what I enjoy, that part. Next year, if I can make it happen, I would like it to be the year of more gardening and less garden tasks. I want to be able to, you know, take cuttings of things to propagate plants and have time to do that at the right time. You know, I want to be able to divide perennials at the right time. By the way, I will divide a perennial at any time. I have no qualms whatsoever about chopping a hosta in half right now and relocating it. I'm watering everything anyway. I might as well do that. But I want time to fiddle with my garden beds. And I see a lot of garden beds that are fine, they're growing, but like there's fine-tuning things that could be happening. And I can't get to that because there's rough tuning things that need to happen in other areas, so at least those areas are situated. This sounds kind of whiny. I don't want this to be whiny, but I will say that it was clear in the comments of that video that many of you are feeling like that, and I am too, and it hasn't stopped. I'm not feeling better about it yet, to be honest. So I'm hoping next year will be a different year, and that this channel is going to be a lot less about planting new gardens, although with the exception of the privacy screen, you know, that hasn't been the case this year. And a lot more about just making the garden you have better, because that's what I desperately want to be doing, rather than buying a lot of plants and sticking a ton of plants in. I'm not saying that I'm never stopping buying plants. Let's be honest. There's always more plants to buy, but it was a little intense this year for me. All right, before we get into the first question, I do want to turn the camera on and show you what it looks like over there. So as I sit at my patio table, this is now the view. They moved the cottage, which had been over there, to there. That's part of what the privacy screen is for. And you'll say, it doesn't look like it's screening much right now, but I'm pretty happy with the placement of the trees. There's a few that I think we got a little off, but again, we're planning for a pool over here, so we did do a lot of evergreen stuff between us and the pool. So this just happened a few days ago. It's a big change, but like everything, every change, you get used to it after a while. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the first morning that I woke up after they moved the cottage and I sat at the kitchen table and I looked out, and the main view out my window was the cottage. After years and years and years of just looking at lawn and trees, it was a little disheartening. That said, you know, I'm trying to keep this all in perspective, and I always start with this. It's not my business. There's nothing I can do about it. They get to do whatever they want over there, and that's fine, and I'm happy for them that they're gonna have the space that they need. It's just change. And the way I sort of thought about it was, if we had come to buy this house and looked at it and that cottage had been there, we still would have bought this house. So there you go. It's just because it's different. We will get used to it. It's just a lot different. Let's just roll right into the questions. I'm going to try to group these by video, trying to be a little bit more organized. So I'm going to jump around a little bit in terms of the order of videos that we talk about. I'm going to try to group the questions into a video. So on the video where I planted the banana and edged the beds, I do love that edging, you guys. Okay, so first of all, thank you all for your incredible enthusiasm that you share for my banana tree. I have been having so much, as you know, I've been having so much fun with that plant. I love that so many other people are sort of following along. I'm also loving that I'm hearing many of you are also buying red Abyssinian bananas. So take pictures of those, and maybe towards the end of summer when everyone's bananas are super big, maybe we'll have people send in pictures of their bananas so we can share all of them, because I am into the banana craze. Okay, so the first thing that we dealt with in that video was edging. And so someone asked, what did you do with the sod that you take out? Do you stack it in your yard so you can reclaim the soil, or pop it in spots where the lawn has died? So first of all, my job is removing the sod and filling up a wheelbarrow with it. That is where my job ends, because I'm not moving that damn wheelbarrow. So Mr. Much More Patient comes in and he manages it from there. Sod breaks down into the most beautiful soil, you guys. So normally what we do is just make a sod stack, where you just stack it, you know, the first layer goes upside down, and then you stack soil side to soil side and grass side to grass side, and very quickly that will break down into fabulous garden soil. So that is one option. He did say some of those pieces came out from that area, came out so nice that he was going to use it to patch another area of the lawn, which is perpetually plagued with just terrible brown spots from the dogs. I did not see that happen, and I wasn't going to offer to go dig up that other sod and put that in, because I'm moving on. That would be an excellent use for it, but normally we make a sod stack. The other thing I wanted to say is that a lot of times, if you're not going to plant right away, one of the things you could do if you're removing sod, or you can do sort of a combination of a sheet mulching plus sod removal, where you remove only the strip of sod on the front and flip it over and then sheet mulch the rest of the bed. That front layer of sod will create your edge, and that will eventually break down really well. And then you've got your sheet mulching behind that, which is another just absolute fabulous method. I didn't do any of that because I just needed to plant immediately, like sod out, plants in, done. Someone says, I'm in Montreal and some people leave their banana plants out in the garden over winter. I'm wondering if that's the plan for Erin's plant. I haven't left mine out over winter, but I'm thinking about doing it this year. So the tree that I grow is a, I'll put the, I think it's Esente. I'll put the botanical name on the screen. It's red Abyssinian banana. So it is not a banana that will produce bananas. It's a completely ornamental banana, and it is not hardy. There are hardy bananas out there that are hardy to, I mean, I think zone 6, but even there, that's like with protection. And I think I have heard of people in zone 5 having some luck with that, but that's not what this is. So this banana will definitely be dead if I don't bring it in and store it the same way as last year. And you know, we'll see what this year brings. That would probably be my expectation to do that again next year, but because it worked. But we'll see. But no, it will not leave this one out. Seed Saver Diane says, if Erin or any of her followers gets a chance to visit San Diego, the San Diego Botanical Gardens in Encentes, California, north of San Diego, has a banana grove with many different varieties of bananas. Sorry I don't have a postcard to send Erin. This counts as your postcard, Diane. Thank you so much. So everyone add that one to your list of places to see, especially if you're into seeing lots of bananas. In that same video, someone asked a question, Devin Jones asked, is there a best time to do or not do the edging of flower beds? I don't think it has so much to do with time of the year, but it's soil conditions. The optimal time that I find to edge garden beds is when they're moist, but not too wet and not too dry. Mine are quite dry when I did this, which makes it a lot harder to pull that out. If you can get it when it's moist, that's good. If it's too wet, they're also, it's super heavy and probably not great to always work on your beds during that time if it's really wet. But there is sort of a happy place where it's moist enough to cut through easily, but not so wet that it's clumpy and sticky. So it's not so much about the time of year, it's about, and I have edged at pretty much any time of year. It's more about how moist your soil is at that time. Up North 21 says, I love that tropical corner. It will be fun to look at while on your deck. And I am right now. At least I can only see the top of the banana right now though. I agree with you. I agree. With geranium, I have Roseanne. Never really neat. Love the color blooms, but questioning about it also. Would Boom Chocolata be just as messy? It would add a nice color interest. You know, perennial geraniums are such good plants because they're so no nonsense, right? But the varieties some tend to get floppy, some tend to go all over the place. I do grow Boom Chocolata. It's actually in the garden by the path. I only have that one plant. What's nice about that one is, well, all those geraniums, they grow from partial shade to full sun, which is really great. I have not found Boom Chocolata to be, but I mean, if you guys watch Laura from Garden Answers, of course you do. I mean, everybody does, right? So her Boom Chocolata appeared to be 36 inches tall in a giant ball. Mine is in the partial shade growing maybe 24 inches tall. So it looks like an enormous plant, but hers didn't show any signs of splitting open yet. I don't know what hers does. Boom Chocolata is a fabulous, fabulous geranium. And I'm glad somebody mentioned that. I might actually pull out those Johnson's Blue geraniums, and that would be an option. If it's going to grow as big as in the sun, if it's going to grow as big as Laura's, then I would need like one to fill that spot, and that could be handy and quite pretty. So the gold standard for perennial geraniums is Roseanne. I have always found Roseanne to be, I mean, it blooms prolifically, it reblooms. I found it to be, you know, kind of a mess too. That's why I did Johnson's Blue there instead of Roseanne. Well, Johnson's Blue is no better, and I keep hearing from people like, oh, well, why would you do Johnson's Blue when Roseanne is out there? I bet you there'll be a ton of people who come and say that Roseanne geranium is like one of their favorite plants. It's so great. So don't count Roseanne out. Now, Roy Diblik, when he was here in that video, brought a geranium called Orion, which also, I think they all kind of splay open as they go, but what he pointed out was that this one will regrow from the center and rebloom from the center without you having to go do anything to it. So as it reblooms and as those side branches start looking shabby, you can cut them off then, but you don't have to cut it off to the ground in order to get a rebloom, which is where I'm at right now with those Johnson's Blue. So someone mentioned when I was talking about sheet mulching and how I just didn't use sheet mulch in that area. I did use it right across on the other side of that circle area where I'm going to plant plugs. So I was able to sheet mulch there, and I had to add in a lot of soil anyway because the soil was just 100% sand over there. Anyway, someone says sheet mulching works for people who don't have a way to dispose of sod. Great point, excellent point. Again, I have no qualms with sheet mulching whatsoever. It's just sort of a personal preference thing. I think it works great in some cases. For me, it only works great in some cases. So that's why I don't do it all the time. But excellent benefit, you're right, of people who don't want to remove their sod. Although I would say, even in a small yard, make one of those sod stacks and you will have fabulous soil. So there were a lot of really nice comments on the path video that we did. That was the one with the solar lights. Thank you for being as enthusiastic about that as I am. I keep looking at it going, this was such a no-brainer. Why didn't we do this sooner? And because, as I mentioned, we're busy. That's why. Or you do it when you can. Anyway, multiple people very respectfully asked, well, I actually got into a little bit of a conversation with one commenter, but other people asked the same question, was when I was making that path, which goes back to sort of the first video we did of it in fall, why didn't we just cut the stones so that I didn't have to have those like 3 stones, 2 stones, 3 stones, 2 stones things, so I would avoid the middle seam? And the answer is because I didn't have any way to cut them, and I didn't want to rent something to cut them, and the whole idea of that project was simple. I wanted a stone path, but I wanted to keep it simple. Anything more than what we did, I would have hired out. Because, so first of all, the way that path really should have been done is instead of those individual stones, I would have greatly preferred long, like stone, do they call those sleepers or something? Whatever, like long, one piece of stone that went across the entire way. You could, I mean, that's kind of where I got, that's the path that was the inspiration for this path, was a path with stones all the way across. The problem with that is that two people can't lift those, much less set them properly. So then you need machinery. So that's why that was out for me. Same reason I didn't want to have to go cut stone, because I don't want to cut stone. It's a whole thing. Like I don't even know if that's a tool that I could rent from the hardware store, but that's additional cost, additional labor. And honestly, I'm trying, I think as I get older, I'm trying to be like a little bit more practical of like, what is the amount of work that will result in a final product that I'm happy with, even if it isn't necessarily the perfect thing. That is not where I used to be. I used to be in a position where if it's not perfect, I don't want it at all. And maybe that's why that path didn't happen for so long, for 20 years. Because if it wasn't going to be perfect, I didn't want it at all. And I think I've mellowed a bit and discovered that there can be beauty in imperfection. Thank God, because it's not perfect. And that's just a place where I'm sort of at now. And I'm not going to lie, my reluctance to kill myself over a project has very much adjusted my expectations on what I need for an outcome in order to be happy with it. So that's where I am on that. So that's why we didn't do that. Would have been a perfect solution to it, is not what we did. I don't think there were a lot of other questions on that video. There were some comments about how people might have like staggered the lights, or, you know, you could have placed those lights in different ways. Totally. And I actually drew it out. I actually photoshopped it with a light alternating on either side and 2 lights on either side and just the lights on one side. And well, the beautiful thing about those solar lights is you can try it out just by pulling them out and sticking them in somewhere else and seeing what you like. I thought, but here's how my brain went. I didn't care for, again, personal preference. You guys know how I am. Do what you want to do. But my preference was when I alternated them, it was too disturbing to my eye. It was because, you know, your eye follows that, right? And so now you're on this path and like your eye is kind of pinging all over the place in these big zigzags. And I just felt like it was a more serene look to just have them down one side. You could definitely do both sides, but I thought, well, now maybe that's getting into overkill situation. This could very well change. The beautiful thing about it is that there is zero commitment with those lights. You just pick them up and stick them somewhere else. By the way, they are working very well. I had tons of questions from people about, are they really going to do okay in that sort of, you know, not full sun situation? They've been on every night. It's been no problem whatsoever. Another video I did, because I can't even believe how far back we're going on videos where I haven't talked about them, is update on the Belgian fence made out of royal raindrops crab apples in the vegetable garden. Oh, a couple people want to know what I'm going to do at the top, if I'm going to bleach that or what I'm going to do. I just cut it off. So I am going to be pruning. It's gotten super shaggy lately. In fact, the other day I was just over there. It was kind of starting to bug me, so I just started pruning. I prune all the time on that thing. The other thing is that when it puts out those big long whips, they're just really an aphid attractor. So I leave them there for a little bit, but I wouldn't even need to treat the aphids. I just cut those off because it's probably put on a foot of growth since you saw that video. So I do need to get in there and clean that up because right now it just looks like a shaggy wall. You can barely even see the diamonds anymore. So at the tops, just cut it off. I mean, yes, it will re-sprout again up there, but so does everything else. So I just keep cutting it off roughly level with the top of the fence. That will actually push more growth downward too. So that's actually good for helping fill out some of those bare spots in there. Someone said, I didn't know you couldn't eat off trees that were treated with copper fungicide. Yeah, you are not supposed to. So if you ever, because I mentioned that I deal with cedar apple rust. So when you get your copper fungicide, which is the recommended treatment, it's not even treatment, it's sort of a questionable treatment. Something you can do. It may help. When you get that bottle, make sure anytime you're spraying anything anywhere, no matter what it is, make sure you read the label. But yeah, copper fungicide is not something you can spray on a tree that you're going to eat from. So that's why it's fine with the Royal Raindrops crab apples. I'm not eating those. Someone, Penny, says, I use Confederate jasmine to create my 2 Belgian fences. Dark green, lovely fragrance when in bloom, and I was inspired by your Belgian fence. I love that take on it. I mean, Confederate jasmine is delicious and delightful and absolutely perfect for that sort of effect. It's primo. This week's salty comment comes courtesy of Chris Baker, 9427, who says, don't blame the tie, you should have taken it off early. For perfection, you have to be vigilant. So I mentioned I wasn't going to use those plastic tags, those plastic ties on there anymore because they were starting to cut into the bark. I also will just say in an equally salty retort that, first of all, I'm not perfect, and anybody who watches these videos knows that I'm not. So I don't think I strive for perfection. Yeah, if you are out there every day tending to your stuff, or every 2 days, and you're the kind of person who puts a note in their calendar to take their plastic ties off their tree on such and such a date, you should use those plastic ties. I am not that person. I don't think most gardeners are that person, which is why with the clips that I showed or some other method, there's some forgiveness in that. There's not a lot of forgiveness in those plastic ties. So if you don't get back to those clips for a year, probably nothing bad is going to happen. I also will just mention that I did say in the video I should have taken those off much sooner. So I know. Thank you, Chris Baker, 9427. On the video that I showed of Roy Diblik, who came to kind of walk through the garden with me that he designed, that video, so this is how it works. When Roy and I do videos together, often the videographer that Roy works with, his name is Dave and he's fabulous, he often films the videos so that I don't have to worry about it. And he just kind of takes care of everything, which makes it a little bit easier for me to be a part of a video with another person. And so Dave and Roy show up at my house and we immediately just start, Dave hands us each a microphone and we immediately just start talking about gardens. And then we roam around and we talk, and Roy and I talked for like probably 30 minutes. And then I go, okay, what do you want to do for the video, Dave? And he says, oh, I think we just made it. So literally that was not supposed to be the video. And we did film a couple of clips where we sort of talked through a couple of things. But for the most part, that was literally the conversation that Roy and I had within 5 minutes of him showing up here. So that's how that was. So you were very much sort of a fly on the wall for the actual conversation that happened rather than this is what we're going to talk about and then film it sort of thing. A few people mentioned that my Wisconsin accent really came through, and I noticed that myself. There are times when that Midwestern twang that I have comes through, and it's probably going to come through right now because I'm conscious of it, comes through much more than others. And a couple of those times are when I'm talking to someone else with a heavy Midwestern accent, immediately it comes out. If I watch the movie Fargo, I will sound like I'm in the movie Fargo for 2 days after that. So it's a muscle memory thing or something. The other thing is that I do think that if I'm a little bit like nervous, I think that naturally, I don't try to suppress my Midwestern accent at all. I'm very conscious that it's there. It just, maybe subconsciously I'm trying to suppress it a little bit, but sometimes I just know it sometimes comes out much more. I do think when I'm a little bit nervous, it comes out more, especially when I use like odd little Midwestern turns of phrases. Those come out when I'm nervous all the time. And I mean, I consider Roy a friend. I'm so lucky that I'm able to do that. I'm so lucky. Any time I can spend with Roy Diblik, I become a better gardener, usually a better person. I just soak up his philosophy and all his knowledge and anything I can get. It's amazing. That said, I have incredible respect for him and do recognize that I am insanely lucky to have him have any part of my garden. And I just desperately want him to be happy with what I'm doing with the garden that he helped me design. I do not want to you don't want to disappoint a person who you look up to, and I very much look up to Roy. So I think maybe I was a little nervous, and it just also because we weren't filming in front of a camera. Originally I think that's where the Midwestern twang came from. But anyway, I noticed it too. Again, it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. Okay, now let's talk about the 3 Cool Plants video. We're going into the Wayback Machine because that's how behind I am on these. Many people pointed out that I was pronouncing one of those plants wrong. And I think we'll just have to thank my buddy Jim Putnam, who was in the garden last year, because apparently he's pronouncing it the right way, which is Fats Hedera. And I say that's probably right, but you can pronounce it correctly, or you can pronounce it the fun way. And the fun way is definitely Fat Shadera. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm always going to call that plant Fat Shadera because it might be wrong, but it's way more fun. Someone asked at the very end of the video what the tall, narrow evergreen tree behind me was. It was not an evergreen. That's the climbing hydrangea. It didn't have any flowers on it at the time, so it would look like an evergreen. That's the climbing hydrangea that grows up the cut off, the topped oak tree. No, it's not an oak tree. It's an ash tree. So the worst part about being behind on these Q&As is that I'm also behind on viewer mail, which is the postcard project, loosely termed, in which I ask you guys to send me postcards or cards from something that inspired you in a garden that you visited this year. That could be your neighbor's garden, that could be a public garden, that could be somewhere halfway across the world. Whatever is really inspiring you, we're just sharing that so we can all share the inspiration. Okay, here's the first post. And by the way, I'm so sorry I'm behind these. I actually had somebody write me to see if I'd gotten their postcard. I'm very sorry, but please hang in there with me, and I hope we keep sending them because I think this is such a cool little project. Hi, Erin, love your channel. I got to visit the Sherman Library in spring. Neat place to visit. My favorite part, on a set of stairs, they had thousands of succulents nestled in the stringer part. So cool. This is from Kelly from Iowa. And this is the Sherman Library and Gardens in Corona del Mar, California. Look at that agave. I gotta get an agave, guys. Oh, this is fabulous. This postcard is from Belarus. Belarus. We got a new country to pop on our map here, which doesn't exist yet, but I'm working on it. Look at the stamps. Can you see those? They're a little fruit. Hi Erin, this is just to let you know that your videos inspire people here in Belarus too. This postcard features a rhododendron from our Musk, M-I-U-S-K, botanical garden, and they have a huge and gorgeous collection. All the best, Tanya. Tanya, thank you so much. That is gorgeous. Look at that. That is really stunning. Oh, love it. Thank you so much. Belarus, how cool. Hi Erin, greetings from the UK and Tatton Park. What a spectacular place on a picture-perfect day. The roadies were gorgeous, the topiary is dramatic, and and vistas endless. This is from Libby. And the photo on the postcard is the Japanese garden at Tatton Park. What a fabulous, oh, that just sounds amazing. So glad you got to enjoy that, Libby, and thank you for sending that. We are all over the world today, you guys. Greetings, Erin, from England in May, where it is green and so pretty with everything starting to bloom. We are staying in the Cotswolds with family for 16 days. A walk to the pub takes us by cottages just like this with bleeding hearts, peonies, spirea, columbine, azaleas, olive trees, bay trees, apple tree, all in full bloom. Glorious. This is from Mandy, and she lives in Virginia. Hey, Mandy's relatives in the Cotswolds. Let me know if you want more visitors. No, we've talked about the Cotswolds before, and you guys, I think, know that that is a place I would very much like to visit, and this is why. Look at that. It's so charming. Thank you, Mandy. I hope you had a fabulous time. It sounds amazing. Oh, this is one from home. Not home, but this is near me. Hi, Erin and Mr. Much More Patient. I drove down from the Mekiwani Peninsula to visit friends in Milwaukee over the weekend, and we spent the morning here at Mitchell Park. One of the domes is getting a new exhibit next week, dinosaur themed. Looking forward to seeing which shrubs you end up going for in the new planting next to your neighbor's place. This is from Andy. This is the Mitchell Park domes. This is a conservatory in Milwaukee. There's these are huge domes, and they feature these like seasonal displays and tropical displays. They're really quite spectacular. Unfortunately, they're in a really bad state of disrepair, so they're always sort of fundraising to save the domes, and they're county owned, so it's always, it's always a little sketchy whether they're going to make it or not. But they're quite a cool thing. It was always a compulsory field trip when we were in school. Everybody went on a field trip to the domes. Hi, Erin. I recently, here, let me move back. There we go. I recently visited the beautiful Flowering Bridge in Lake Lure, North Carolina, Zone 7B. When a new bridge was built over the Broad River, a local group got permission to transform the old decommissioned bridge into a garden. The Flowering Bridge has 30 garden rooms and is certified as a wildlife habitat, as well as an official monarch way station. This is from Jennifer Walker in Columbia, South Carolina, which is Zone 7 or 8A. Is that the coolest idea? That is, I love that so much. Take those old, ugly bridges, and transform them into a garden. Just amazing. That's basically it's very similar to what the High Line is. This is I can only tell this is from Poland because I'm noticing the stamps. Once again, other countries have the best stamps. US, get on that. It's a panoramic. Greetings from Poland. Today we visited, oh boy. The Polish is not difficult to pronounce. You just have to take your time with it. Wojslawiec Arboretum, which has been my dream for the past year. Their rhododendron collection is stunning, with some of the plants being over 100 years old. We hope to come back in July to see their daylily collection in bloom. Best wishes. This is from Alexandra. Oh, I love this. Have you guys noticing a theme? Rhododendrons are the theme today. Just beautiful. I don't grow rhododendrons, and we're going to talk about why when I do the update on the privacy screen with the neighbors. We have multiple postcards in here. I'll just hold them up as we go here. Hidden Lake Gardens is a beautiful little treasure tucked in southern Michigan. I have never heard of it. The dwarf conifer collection is fabulous. Also an excellent display of bonsai. I'm looking forward to the canopy walk. Love your videos. This is from Susan. So these are all the different, she also sent paperwork on this, which is so nice. So I'll just go through them all so you can see all the postcards. This is the temperate house in the conservatory. This is, it says Hidden Lake is surrounded by woodland of birches, dogwoods, maples, oaks, sassafras, and willows that provide a splendor of autumn foliage colors. Hidden Lake, there's a Michigan State University, must be their garden. And this is in Tipton, Michigan. A visitor favorite among young and old alike in summer. This European weeping beech tree exhibits its magnificent branching structure on an icy morning in Hidden Lake Gardens. Those weeping beech trees are fabulous. And then she also sent some really beautiful information, including the map. I love that other people save the map. Look at this is the map of the gardens. Thank you so much, Susan. That is very interesting and close enough that I would not have known where this was from until I started reading this. Hi, Erin, love your channel. I live in southeast Pennsylvania, Zone 6B. I recently had the opportunity to visit the Como Zoo and Conservatory in St. Paul, Minnesota. This free venue includes the Marjorie McNeely Conservatory. It's a beautiful glass structure with a sunken garden, fern room, lily pond, tropical rainforest, and much more. The Charlotte Partridge Ordway Japanese garden is outstanding. I especially enjoyed the fragrant lilac pruned into tree form. The new addition hosts an extensive bonsai collection. The azalea bonsai has inspired me to give it a try. I only realized later I missed a whole section of the ground, so I will definitely be returning. My 24-year-old son said he enjoyed it much more than he thought he would, and I think your viewers will love it too. This is from Diane from Fleetwood, Pennsylvania. This is another one that I've not heard of in my neighboring state of Minnesota. Lovely. Sounds really spectacular. And I mean, I'll take those lilies any day, right? This is from Lori Poland, and she says, I believe you were opening my postcards on your garden Q&A sneak peeks and postcards video. It looks as though it was edited out. Please accept my apologies. Okay, Lori, that video was such a mess, and there was a terrible error in it, and I was super tired when I edited it, and I'm just going to go on here. There was nothing wrong with your postcards. They were fabulous. I'm so sorry. In fact, I will try to go back and find them. I've saved everything. Find them so I can share them again. I'm so sorry. No. She says she's sorry if she offended me. No. Oh my gosh, no. They were lovely. Lori, they were amazing, and I'm so sorry that happened. I will go back and find them so we can remedy that. I'm so sorry. She says the area you're renovating is going to be amazing. We're attempting to reestablish a farm pond on some property in Georgia. It's only 3 months behind due to rain. It's quite our big project, which will be anxious. I have before photos, anxious for the after photos. Take care and keep digging. Lori, thank you for that. It's a beautiful card. Thank you so much, Lori. I'm so sorry that happened in that video. I don't know. That video was such a mess, and then there was chunks that edited, and then I had to edit other things later, and that's what happens with the garden overwhelm. Thank you, Lori, for hanging in there. I'll try to dig out those other postcards so we can share that in a future one. Okay, speaking of future ones, I am going to try to be better about getting to these a little bit more often. Despite some things in this garden, like the planter behind me, growing at a snail's pace, what is going on? Other things are starting to look quite nice. Other things are a mess, but some things are looking quite nice. So we'll probably look at doing a video here in the next few weeks. We're in a little bit of a lull, flowering wise. You know, the hydrangeas starting to bud up, but they've not flowered yet. The poppies are blooming now, but there's not a ton, you know, and it's rough. I got to go back. It's the time when I got to cut all the Nepeta back, so that will be a while before that reflushes. So we're in a little bit of a lull flower wise, but the garden is looking pretty good, and will look much better if I can get a chance to just sort of faff about a little bit. So we'll probably look at doing a tour. In the next 24 hours, I'm going to shoot an updated tour of the privacy screen with the neighbors, because I have finished that off for the year, and I want you all to see what shrubs I added, many of them based on the recommendations that were in that video. Oh, and I am gonna before we do anything else, I am going to shoot a little tour of the front border and the window box for you, because I didn't show you those at all when I was planting them up, because you didn't need to see another video on how do you plunk an annual in the ground and an annual in a window box. But they have grown into themselves a little bit, and it looks much better. You can actually start to see what I was going for there. So we'll show you that soon too. Lots coming up. Thanks for hanging in there. The first video you're going to see, either before or after this one, is an update down at the office planting that I did last year. So I think you guys will be very surprised as to what I'm planting down there. And I hope you are having a great day in your garden. Enjoy it, everyone. It doesn't last long. All right, we'll see you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.